Here we are. It's a dose of Dr. Drew.
Thank you, Miss Producer Susan Pinsky, who Kay Smythe declared was the most gorgeous producer in the universe. In the universe, I tell you. It's a privilege to have Kay Smythe here with us today. We are taking calls also at 636-334-3999. Is 636 right, Miss Producer? Yeah, okay, 636.
There's got to be a lot of threes for me.
334-3999, and we're also watching you on the restream here. One of the questions from Tyler already is, if the coronavirus were to get into the homeless population in Los Angeles, would the problem escalate? Yeah. So I asked Kay, give me 2 minutes on you, so people maybe haven't seen you from previous, and what moved you the way it moves me. Go ahead.
So, thank you.
Hang on.
Oh,
I don't
wait.
hear her mic.
She needs a mic. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There you're on. You're on.
Woo! I have a voice. So, hi guys, I'm Kay Smythe. It's wonderful to be here, Drew. Thank you so much. So, obviously I'm not from here. I've got a funny accent. So I was invited to move to America to help fix big social problems.
By whom?
Originally, the Obama administration was kind of like, okay, we might let you in. And then the Trump administration was just like, dude, you got to stay. My visa got renewed in like no time at all. So,
nice.
yeah, that's my background. Mostly writing and research, but social scientist.
As a sociologist.
Yeah.
You're a sociologist. You were trained in Great Britain. And you came over here and started looking at, what were you originally looking at?
So my the first thing I ever looked at was how gang members left gangs and moved into other industries, predominantly entertainment. So looking at mostly Latino communities and how media and entertainment was influencing a lot of kids to get into gangs, which is obviously not like a great thing.
Right.
Then I did cannabis for a little bit. I did tech, and then I moved to Santa Monica and suddenly realized that Los Angeles was falling off the face of the earth and turning into an open air concentration camp. And so I thought, fuck doing all of that other shit. I'm going to start actually trying to contribute.
Right. To the open air. I love each time you come with you. I broadcast with you. I come up with a new phrase I want to use. But last time I spoke with you, you called this a genocide. A genocide of homeless people, a genocide of drug addicts, predominant genocide of African Americans, because that's who's concentrated in certain environments. So it's a racist genocide.
Yeah.
And now today you called it an open-air concentration camp.
I mean, like, that's where we're at, though, surely, right? I mean, I don't know how much time you spend walking around Los Angeles out in public, but I used to spend at least 5 hours a day just wandering the streets, bumping into my friends, going to coffee shops. Now I can't even go up to the Trader Joe's around the corner from where I live without being followed home by someone who is severely mentally ill, who needs help now to deal with the problems that they're going through. All of it kind of...
And will not only not get now help, they will never get help, the way things are set up.
Like,
so we have poured people out of the state mental health system into the streets, the prisons, and the morgues, and the nursing homes. We, with Prop 47 and Prop 57, pushed them out of the prisons, which I'm sympathetic to. I agree. They don't belong in prisons, but they don't belong in the morgue either.
Yeah.
If you're going to push them out on the streets, you can't. These are progressive, fatal illnesses: addiction, schizophrenia, severe manias. These are chronic disorders that progress and they become irretrievable if they're not treated early. And people are just left there to die.
I mean, that was the craziest thing about Prop 47 for me, was just the complete lack of common sense that accompanied that whole process.
Well, there's a guy running for DA in Los Angeles who wants to make it worse.
Oh, yeah, I've read his stuff. He can eat a bag of dicks. Like, he is literally the reason that this genocide will perpetuate. Like, he will be done for this
he's a
in
murderer.
the future.
He's a murderer. Yeah, that's what I said too, because he is sending people to the morgue.
Yeah.
To the morgue. Now we're not saying, neither of us, we've not discussed this off the air, but neither of us are saying we want to drag people into treatment. We're saying we have to motivate people to care and have the care to provide it.
Well, I thought what you said, and I can't remember precisely what platform I watched it on, but it's been repeated through my news cycle. The last talk that you gave, where you're talking about these kind of ossified laws.
Yeah, from almost 100 years ago.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like reading American Psychosis. It was I just wanted to throw up in my hands.
Right.
Like I didn't know what else to do at that point.
Please, people, read that book if you want to
Yeah.
understand how we got into this mess. A very fine psychiatrist takes you through the history from the mid 50s to now, and you see exactly how we screwed everything up. And then now with all these civil liberties being protecting serious brain diseases. What are your, if you were in England and somebody, I mean, what would they say?
Well, firstly, if I was in England, I'd be like, fuck Brexit, because that's
There's
literally
different
well,
issue.
it's going to contribute enormously to that, though, because the process that we have in the UK, say if you have a mental health disorder, you can go at present to the NHS and you can say, I am unwell and I need help.
But here's the problem, is that when you have certainly all the ones that are on the street, you don't know that you're sick. You lose your insight. That's part of the illness. And you're resistant and paranoid about people helping you. So what do they do in England with that population?
Okay, haven't lived there for a long time. I don't want to. Actually, my cousin is one of the experts on her.
We gotta. Is it him or her?
Her.
We got to get her in here to talk about.
Oh my God, she'd be so polite about it too.
But I'd be curious to know what they do, because we're the only country that doesn't treat people with brain diseases.
I do actually have a story about this. So I had a friend.
Wait, which cousin?
Oh, the same cousin, my only cousin.
The one that you're supposed to get in touch with?
Yeah. I know. So I just did Susan's
this may be why.
podcast.
Oh my God.
That's the craziest shit, right?
Big D. Big D's here.
It's so spooky. That was how you came up in the podcast.
What?
You were called the Big D. Kelly called you Big D.
Oh, is that what she used to call me?
I guess that's what she calls you
That's
now.
pretty funny. Hey, we will, by the way, take calls. These screwballs, we're happy to talk to you. 636-334-3999.
No, we seriously want to meet the cousin.
Yeah.
636-334-3999. That means you have to come back and bring your cousin in here so we can do one of these again.
That would be
She
great.
can just call in. She doesn't need
Yeah.
It's one of my points, is that why this country is so, I mean, we are like from the Middle Ages, and how we approach like brain diseases. We either say they don't exist or they're like possessed. It's bizarre.
Well, I'm not going to sit here and say that Britain is great when it comes to this stuff,
Okay.
particularly as it comes to day-to-day mental health. I mean, every time that I go into kind of a depression spiral,
I
the worst
understand.
people to call are my family.
I know, I understand. The
But-
Brits are they're buck up and all that
Oh,
stuff. But
yeah.
when it comes to a real brain disease, real honest to God brain disease, where you're yelling and hearing voices and stuff, they take care of business. They help these people
straight away. I mean, you get sectioned. It's not a question. And this is completely where I appreciate the American perspective. That it is essentially giving up your right. But I'm sorry, when you have what is it called? Agnosia.
Anosognosia.
Anosognosia
is a fancy word for denial, but it's what happens when you lose the part of the brain that's necessary for insight. There's a part of our brain that allows us to see what's happening to us. I mean, just talk to a drug addict. You'll see what a lack of insight is all about. 90% of drug addicts don't get treatment. And people argue about it. Oh, they're just because they're stigmatized. No, 90% of drug addicts, because they want to keep using drugs. They don't want to be bothered. They don't think they need treatment. Yes, Angie, the book is called American Psychosis. Somebody picked up on what you said there.
Let's read some of the questions.
Excellent.
Well, there haven't really been that many questions.
Nobody's. It's kind of late. This is not a normal time, so you're gonna have to
relax. Now, it's not a bad time. It's been a year since Brody Stevens passed away. What are the side effects of SSRIs that can cause suicidality? When is it time to talk to your provider about changing meds? The SSRIs cause suicidality by two means. One is in adolescence. Some of them are associated with suicidal thinking, not necessarily suicide. And if you're bipolar, they can induce mania, and bipolar manics are actually more likely to kill themselves in a manic state than in a depressed state. So that's the thing with that. And
what's SSRI?
Serotonin reuptake inhibitors.
Okay.
So when is it time to talk to your provider about tapering? If you've been on it more than 6 months, I think that's a reasonable thing. Changing meds if you have any adverse side effects or you don't have a complete remission in your mood problem. Let's see. We're trying to read your questions. What do I think about Mike Pence leading the COVID-19 outbreak? I think it's a great idea. I don't care who leads it. You got the CDC on top of it. Let's look to Anthony Fauci, F-A-U-C-I. He's been involved with these major infectious disease outbreaks for as long as I've been a physician. He's been saying for weeks, shut up, everybody, relax. It's going to be widespread. It's going to be mild. It's going to have a markedly reduced fatality rate. We're going to take care of it. There's going to be a vaccine. Relax. This is not what the press are creating out of this is specific. I want them. Listen, I want people.
Yes.
The journalists. They're causing a disruption of the supply chain. Now I have to worry about my patients getting medication. No boats are leaving China because the Chinese government shut down the ability to move around because they didn't want to be seen as not responding to this because it was a full-blown panic.
Where did you get that information?
On the show we did a couple of days ago from a guy, a supply chain expert.
Right.
And most of the generic medicines in this country come from, or at least have a component from China. And so if you're on medication, you have got to stockpile your meds. There's going to be a supply chain
That's
problem.
why my birth control has just tripled in price.
Maybe.
Because I get the generic stuff. Because if I were to get the stuff that I usually would get on the NHS,
super expensive.
Free out here, $300 a month for the stuff that I used to get.
Yeah. So that probably is what it is. Probably a temporary increase in the price.
I not to cut you off, but I was going to ask about this. So I was in China during the SARS epidemic of 2003.
Which was a much more serious thing.
I mean, like, it was great. Me and my parents, it was me, my mum, my dad. You couldn't travel in China without a guide at that point. At one point, it was just like the four of us on the Great Wall, and I was like, "Holy shit,
lovely.
this is like the best
they
vacation
shut it down
ever."
then too, right?
That's clearly the best time to travel.
Having a centralized government, they can shut stuff
Although
down.
you can't get a flight over there, all the airlines shut down because there's no business.
Somebody wants me to explain an atrial septal defect, an ASD, to the layman. When you're developing, there's a whole, you have 4 chambers in your heart, 2 on top, 2 on the bottom, and as you're developing, there's a connection between actually all of them, but a late one sort of closes between the 2 chambers on top. And for some people, there are various forms of those membranes not working or not closing, and blood starts flowing back and forth between the right side and the left side of the heart. And that can be associated with strokes and migraines and difficulty with oxygenating your blood properly. So it's something that and it's also fixed easily. So get it fixed. What do you want? Because what do you like here?
I kind of like that one.
My ex-wife's in a mental hospital. I don't know how to go about my children having a relationship with her when she gets out. They're 4, 6, and 9. Depends what she's in a mental hospital for, right?
Yeah.
I will tell you, having worked in a psychiatric hospital for 30 years, the only thing the kids want to know is that mom's going to be okay. They won't really understand mental illness. Maybe the 9-year-old might begin to understand those things, and you can start to educate him or her very slowly. But the way I would approach it initially is mom has an illness, she's getting treatment, she's going to be fine, but she needs to see a doctor regularly for that condition, and then get them to understand what brain disorders are.
Well, what I really liked about that question was, I think something, and maybe you can enlighten me on this. So in the UK, obviously we have such a stigma against even talking about mental health. I mean, it's getting better. What I really liked within this, and something I even begged my family for at one point, was just this kind of idea that on the last podcast we were talking about my grandmother, who clearly had a lot of things wrong with her, and I just wanted to know that I wasn't crazy, that I looked at this woman and saw someone who wasn't right, but that I wasn't the crazy one thinking she was crazy. She did actually have something a problem. And I think the kind of normalization that can come from having those open conversations at a young age, maybe not 4, 6, but certainly during adolescence, just having those normalization conversations, I think can, and again, tell me if I'm wrong, but the number of people I know who are exposed to this, I would say it's a darker side of life at a younger age. At this point, when they're in their kind of 20s and 30s and dealing with these issues themselves, are far more open-minded and happy to ask for help than those who were raised with that stigma.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And particularly the older population, you're saying your grandmother, that usually is a medical problem precipitating the psychiatric problem.
I mean,
some stroke, vascular disease, something like that, medication, that sort of thing. But psychiatric illness is common in the elderly. I'm wondering if I misread ASD. Maybe they meant autistic spectrum disorder.
Oh, might be.
As opposed to atrial septal defect. So please do clarify that for me. Can I speak on anosognosia and how it comes about and who is prone to it? Okay. So anosognosia was originally described to a right parietal stroke. When people had a stroke up here and the left side of their body went out, they would immediately be ignoring the left side of the world. If they draw a clock, they only draw the right side. The left side of the world doesn't exist. And isn't that wild? Whoa. And when you show them their hand, which is flaccid paralysis, You can bring it in front of their field of vision. They can't see anything over here. The left side's all out. But you bring it on the right side. They look at it. They go, huh? Yeah. Anyway, what's for lunch? It just doesn't exist. And talk to a drug addict sometime. They're great examples of denial and anosognosia. We used to sort of bring it out in patients. I remember a patient came in. We'd always ask them why they're here to get an understanding of their motivation. And the nurse and I were walking in, going, "Oh man, look at this guy who was sent right from court. They put him in handcuffs, sent him to us." And so we go to him, we go, "Hey, what's going on?" He goes, "Oh, yeah." I go, "Oh, man, why are you here?" "I'm just sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of being a drug addict. I got up and I decided this is it. I'm done. I'm done with this stuff." And I show him all the paperwork and I go, "And how about the judge that sent you directly from the courtroom?" Oh, yeah, there's that. Yeah, but I'm here because I'm here for myself. The point is, it didn't even occur to him that that's why he was here. And that's anosognosia. Schizophrenics, they can say they're Napoleon. They don't have any insight to the fact that they're not. Bipolar manics can be quite inflated, and they don't know they are. Look at like Charlie Sheen when he was, making all those videos online and things. That was somebody who did not have insight into what was happening to him. Okay, let's see if we can get some more stuff here. We're also taking calls. Don't forget. I will pick up the call. Is the call thing open? Because 666.
Yes, it is.
636-334-3999. 636-334-3999. In the meantime, I'm looking at your restream.
It's late.
Here.
Everybody's getting ready for bed.
Oh, how dare you!
Don't be so boring, guys.
So yeah, Kay's here to deliver the hammer.
Yeah.
So Kay, when you go on the streets and you hear our politicians talk about housing and housing and housing and housing, what do you think about that?
I want to repeatedly slap my face against the wall like a horse when they want to commit suicide. Because, I think I've told you before, I'm at my wit's end with society. We all just need to go back to the fucking cave.
I wish
But
you
no,
had
I'm
done
at
this
the
during my show.
I hadn't had a glass of wine before
You're
we started.
so sweet on my show.
Well, I try to be nice.
I brought her for a reason.
I know, it's funny.
She is my hammer.
It's funny because we just, everybody's so proper on my show, and I'm, trying to, get them to
Let
ramp
Kay
it up.
deliver the
Next
hammer
time.
here. Let's see what she has to say.
Next time we'll start talking about sex and get really into it. But no, I think the thing that bothers me the most at this point, and this is more the kind of work side of me, and
Work
when I
side
try
meaning
to be
sociologist side of you.
yeah, just marginally more professional.
Yes, marginally.
But marginally. So the first time I ever came on the show with you,
Yes.
back at your radio show,
Yes.
I talked about the genocide. I'm at the point now where if your name is Gavin Newsom or your name is Mike Bonin or your name is Eric Garcetti, who is giving a glorified hand job to dealing with this problem, Eric Garcetti, I get that you have a re-election campaign and you're supposed to now be pulling out the hammer and dealing with it, but you're not. What I honestly at this point see happening into the future is the likes of people like Mike Bonin and Gavin Newsom actually being brought up on charges for perpetuating a fraud that contributes to this genocide.
I would like to. They unfortunately have a veil of what's called qualified immunity. I would like to go after them for murder.
Yeah,
because they're murdering thousands of people by perpetrating this fraud about housing.
It's a genocide.
It's a genocide.
Yeah.
And I have brought that up to many different lawyers, and apparently you just can't do it. You can't pierce the shield they have of qualified immunity. It's like police have a shield of qualified immunity,
what
too.
the fuck?
I know, it's a thing in this country.
That's so basically what you're saying is if I want to go and commit the most heinous crimes under the sun and be a glorified fucking Nazi, all I have to do is wear a fucking badge or be voted into office?
People argue. There are limits to it, of course, I'm sure, but it's a pretty good protection, apparently. And I've discussed over and over that we have to motivate these people by prosecuting them for the murder, the murder of drug addicts, the murder of schizophrenics, the murder of the homeless people, because they will not adjust the laws. They will not talk about mental illness. They just won't do it.
Yeah.
And as a result, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change.
I think the most surprising thing for me was being a Brit coming out here. And in Britain, prior to Brexit, we all understood that being racist and being, a bigot was a bad thing. I don't know how it is since Brexit, but I hear it's not quite like that anymore.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, amazingly.
That's crazy.
But what surprised me the most in moving to California, which, I traveled here a lot as a child. I was raised on that kind of easy rider lifestyle. I sacrificed a lot of my adolescence to be able to be here. And I chose California specifically because I saw it as this incredibly innovative place that was led by a borderline socialist government. And so what's really shocked me is that just in working with the homeless crisis and to a certain extent seeing the way that the cannabis industry has evolved here, what I've come to realize is that these people who, you know, prevaricate about being Democrats out here are just glorified wannabe billionaires like, what's that wanker that runs Amazon? Jeff
Bezos.
Yeah, who's building that dildo rocket to space instead of dealing with the issues that we have here on Earth with his billions of dollars.
Right.
And I was just so horrified by the hypocrisy that perpetuates these problems more than anything.
Yes, it's and I would be delighted to help these, what do you call them? The wannabe billionaires.
Oh,
to turn it around. They could turn it around. They claim to be compassionate. But they cannot get out of their own way. They don't consult with clinicians at all. I mean, it's a stunning mess, and it's killing people at an extraordinary rate. And then you're told you're not compassionate.
Oh, I get told that all the time, and I'm just like, I'm the one that's coming up with the common sense policy issues
Not
to
common
actually
sense,
deal with this.
actual helping these people, actually getting them into help, and they're going to. You're going to. Here's my anybody who takes issue with what we're saying. I need to know how many years you worked in mental health services, because only then should you be in this conversation. Because how can you possibly know what you're looking at if you haven't spent years working with populations like this? All right. Then, if you persist on protecting the status quo, well, now you're a murderer.
Yeah.
Now you're just a murderer.
Yeah.
You're just a common criminal who's trying to murder people in the name of what? I mean, in the name of what?
So the one that I always get is like, I just don't think like drug dealers and drug addicts should be in prison. I was like, yeah, but if you put them on the streets, they're going to die anyway.
I don't think they should be in prison either. That's
yeah,
it.
I don't think they should.
But they should not be in the morgue.
But this is
That's
what we
my
talked
point.
about.
Should not be in the morgue.
Yeah, the last time was you can't create a law that releases these people from prison where actually if
With
they
no plan.
overdose, they will get the help that they need, like right then and there.
No, they won't. For a moment, and then they'll be sent back
Let's
out
just send
again.
them all to Venice Beach.
I mean, that's where they all bloody live now. I can't live there anymore.
If they wanted to make a proposal where we'd have like nurses that shot heroin addicts up and maintained and controlled their, that's fine. Go do that.
Yeah,
that's fine. I have no objection to that. But don't push them onto the streets and expect them not to die.
Somebody wants to know where to get the sand device.
Go to needledestructiondevice.com. Needledestructiondevice.com. Do you know where that?
Is that it?
That's
there?
it.
Do you want me to go grab it?
No.
You okay.
That's
Can you explain this to me? Because I saw you guys using it, and I don't.
Did you do a demonstration, Susan?
No.
Why don't you grab me a needle?
No, I was a little
Lindsay,
busy.
also, over here. Give me one that's already open.
I was a little busy running the board and hosting a show.
Running the whole damn show
what
and being a
happens is that
freaking
you put the
rock
needle. Here's a needle, right? A needle.
Sorry,
You drop it in this device. You just put it in here. Push the button. No more needle. You completely incinerated. Completely doesn't exist.
I'm trying not
it's
to
no
block.
longer a biohazard. Is that not crazy? And we have the bigger units for.
So they won't go in the
larger
ocean and kill all the dolphins.
They're nothing. They're no needle anymore.
Oh, yeah. Anyone that is thinking about
although they'll still swallow the plastic and die anyway, so it's fine.
Well, we got to throw them away. Just throw them away. I mean, look at that. It's just a nub. It's no longer.
Oh, yeah,
That's
like the homeless people
amazing.
really care. They just throw it on the ground anyways.
Yeah.
There's
I mean,
piles of
tons of
trash
Santa
all
Monica.
over
I'll tell you,
California.
diabetics at home, school nurses, needle exchange programs. should
Dogs
have
with
this.
diabetes.
Law enforcement should have it. A cosmetic surgery
And
center
if you
should have it.
and if you put in the code Drew 2020, you'll get $70 off the checkout.
Here's what would be a really great idea is if the California state government and other governments invested in these in a macro sense, handed them out as like almost freebies to all of these stupid charities that go out and like feed the homeless.
Yes.
You guys don't realize you're also perpetuating the issue.
No, I know.
But that's a whole other kettle of fish.
Yeah.
But like if you really want to volunteer and help and go out there, just wander around the streets with one of these things for a day.
We're actually
You'll save thousands of lives.
We're getting law enforcement to do this. A single needle stick costs something like $30,000 and like a year, because you have to test and get them HIV and hepatitis C and medication.
Bloody
it's
Lord.
a single needle stick. So this is my whole career I've wanted something like this, and I finally found it. So I'm way behind it.
That's great.
I hope it works out.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, you could go out with law enforcement and just destroy all the needles. It'd be no problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder about
for future.
Yeah, all these people that went out and did the homeless count, how much they would have helped if they had just been doing that as like a secondary
benefit.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. That's absolutely correct.
Yeah. But,
so,
that's
Kay, how do we
hand them
fight
out to the homeless?
these folks that seem like they're unable to help us change the laws? What do people need to do that want to get involved? A lot of people are always asking me, what do I do? What do I do? I can't stand it. We got to do something.
So the one thing I will say right now that I think people shouldn't do, and this is going to be my most, like, I do a thing on one of my podcasts where we do like unpopular opinions, and this is going to sound like a very unpopular opinion. Don't go out and start working with the groups who feed the homeless. Don't go out and start working with groups who clothe them, who get them warm. The unfortunate thing about going and doing that kind of work is essentially that you are perpetuating the premature death of that person. If you put them in a position where they have to actively go and seek help, or they're in a position where help comes to them, and obviously there are a lot of issues with that.
But we're trying to get stuff more into the streets with people getting Suboxone in the street, getting long-acting antipsychotics, these kinds of things. Because if we can clear them up in the street, they may want to come back on in. Their psychosis goes away. They're like, what am I doing out here?
Well, this is the thing, right? So I follow, and everyone should follow this guy, eDantes112 on Twitter. So
before you say that, somebody's asking, the people not in California, like, how bad it is actually in California.
How do you spell that? eDantes.
Wait, hold on a second. We have 80,000 in Los Angeles area alone. 80,000. And all their excrement is going right into our LA River, out into the ocean, past the sewage treatment plant. So that's happening on a regular basis.
So
on the state, we have how many? 250,000, is it?
The last stat I saw was 120, and as a social scientist, I typically double.
Okay.
Like that's my gut feeling.
How do you spell eDantes? eDantes?
Yes.
112.
112. So what he does is he will go out, and he's just a fucking genius, really, when it comes down to it. He will go and have real life human conversations with the homeless. And what we find is, because I then go in and I kind of like, like crowdsource all of these videos. And what I have kind of tracked is this habit where if someone is handed a sandwich, if someone is handed a cup of soup and a $5 bill, they'll eat the soup. They will use that $5 bill to go and buy drugs and alcohol that will keep them on the street. And so as much as everyone might think like, oh yes, it's the good thing to do, it's the kind of kind thing to do, it's the liberal, it's the, the godly thing to do. No, it's really not. And I'm really fucking bored of having to explain to people that if you help someone when they're at their worst, help them stay at their worst, which is what that is essentially doing, you are part of the problem. And it's so exhausting for me because when I go out and I say this stuff out loud, people call me like a fascist, they call me right wing. Like, guys, I was born and raised in Britain. Like, I understand the importance of the NHS and like social school systems. Like, I'm a huge proponent of all of that stuff. Like, on a very practical perspective.
You're not a conservative.
I'm like, I get like a little bit libertarian. Like I said, love to be back in the cave and just not have to worry about any of this shit. Yeah. But like, when it comes down to it, going out and doing the bare minimum creates the worst. So if you're one of these fucking millennials, like, oh my God, so this year for my birthday, we're going to go like volunteer and like clean up the streets. Right. No, don't do that. Take that money, go and get yourself fucking smarter on this problem. Stop contributing to it by doing the absolute bare minimum to fix it. Yeah. Like,
right. There you go. Yeah. It sounds harsh, but get people into care.
Yeah. It's a Band-Aid.
Tell us about this guy again.
So eDantes, he goes out and he will interview homeless people. He is one of the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the front runners in primary documentation on the homeless crisis in Los Angeles. So I was introduced to him through Carol, who runs LA Vagrants. They work very closely together. Obviously, they're both kind of thought leaders at this point on the homeless crisis. I'm not sure if it's him or there's another chap that Carol from LA Vagrants knows who was brought out to California by a family from, I want to say like Iowa or somewhere. And they were like, oh, we have a son. He's homeless on the streets in California. We want to find him.
Get him back.
And so Carol was telling me that through all of these different kind of God, I don't even know what you said. Because I don't make money from talking about this stuff. Neither does Carol. Like, neither does Edmund.
No, this is a moral calling.
Yeah. So those of us who are kind of together within that, this chap was found. This child was found.
Yep. Were they able to bring him back, though? No.
Here's the fucking crazy. This kid had been arrested 8 times, and he had a missing person warrant out on him from Iowa.
Yeah.
He had been in jail 8 times, and all the motherfucker at the jail had to do was press the fucking button on the screen that says, "Do I need to know more about that person?"
Were they able to get him out of the state? If he said no,
yeah,
if
he's
he
home
said
now.
no, if he said no, they would have just gone up. He said no.
What I was told is that he is home now, but I think it literally took his family coming out.
Do you know how many thousands of California families beg for the help to get their loved ones home, and the state Senate tells them to go F off?
Well, it's like Sacramento.
SB
like
640, everybody. Call your state senator, call your state representative, tell them it's time to pass SB 640. They are scared when you call. Scare them. Call your state representatives. SB 640 will reestablish gravely disabled so families like this can go get their loved one and bring them into their home and feed them and give them care. The way it is now, it's against the law to get near them if you're a family member.
So I was going to ask you, because one of the things that I saw you talking about was it was a form kind of like a power of attorney that can be used for when someone is...
Yes, I want to know. It's a directive to physicians. That's what I want to do.
That's the
because
one.
we are required as doctors to fill out a directive with elderly patients to instruct us what to do when their brain doesn't work right, when they end up in a breathing machine or they have a heart attack. What do you want us to do? How far do you want us to go? We need the exact same thing for psychiatric care. You make a psychiatric diagnosis. When they're still compensated, you sit them down and go, look, when you decompensate, which will happen, that's the nature of this illness, tell me what you want me to do. Bring you in, go get you, come bring you to the hospital. Of course that's what they want.
Yeah.
When they're decompensated, they don't want that because they're in anosognosia.
I have a couple of calls.
Yeah, I'm going to get to them. Let's talk to Tanya. Tanya?
Did she go up?
She's there, but I don't know if I hear her. Tanya?
Takes a sec.
No.
Oh, wait.
Hold on,
my
Tanya.
bad.
Hold on.
Takes a sec.
No worries. I'm
there
holding.
you are. Now we got
Hey.
you.
Keep holding.
What's going on?
How you doing, Dr. Drew? My name's Sonia.
Hi, Tanya. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
So 49 years old, have really struggled with depression for a long time. Finally found an antidepressant that's working for me that doesn't have horrible side effects.
Great.
But recently started really... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Nope, we're listening.
Oh, yeah.
But recently started really struggling with binge eating.
Oh.
So my doctor prescribed Adderall. And I've never had a drug that I've liked. And I like Adderall. And that
I think I would
concerns
too.
me.
Susan, I'm sure you would. Are you?
I have ADD.
Are you kind of a little bit of an alcoholic?
Both my parents' alcoholism.
Yeah.
I am not an alcoholic. I don't drink at all. I actually don't use medications other than my antidepressants.
Right.
And
So you're going to have to be very, very, very careful with the Adderall. Do not use any more than what is prescribed. And when you get rid of it, you might when you stop it, you might find you have a little trouble stopping. Right?
Yeah, because like I said, I've never met a drug that I've liked. And this one is like, I can kind of get where other people come from, like why they take a drug because it feels good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Speed?
It's like
Yeah, I was
it is
gonna
speed.
ask.
Well, the generic name is dextroamphetamine.
Oh, God, I would love that.
Dextroamphetamine.
I would take one
It
and
makes
die.
me not hungry. It makes me not hungry. It makes me have so much energy. I get stuff done.
Yeah. So
It even has focus, which is weird because I don't have ADHD at all.
Susan, don't get any ideas.
I know.
So
I was
Tanya,
offered it once by my psychiatrist.
Tanya, go talk to your doctor about it in great detail and talk about the risk benefits of continuing and how long and what circumstances you should stop. Look, here's the good news is it's working, right? It's doing what it's supposed to do, but it may be triggering something else, and that something else you have to be very careful about, okay?
She doesn't drink.
I'll definitely talk to them.
Yeah, she doesn't drink. She's aversive to alcohol because both parents were alcoholics. She inherited the genetics for alcoholism.
Yeah, for sure.
The low dose of Adderall, probably okay, but in certain doses, long enough period of time, you might trigger something that gives you a little unpleasant side effect, meaning some sort of addictive process.
But she said she's on other medications.
Yeah,
The hard what?
The hard part about it is in the past 2 years through diet and exercise, I've lost 100 pounds.
Great.
So
Wow.
I've been really working hard to like do everything the right way, and it does have me a little concerned, you know?
I get it. And the Adderall is working. He did the right thing in terms of a medicine that is going to help elevate your mood, make you feel better, and suppress your appetite.
I need
but
that.
we don't want it to trigger addiction.
All of the young women I know who started taking Adderall at a very young age, as soon as they came off it in their 20s, and this is just from a sample of like my friends, bodies went fully pear-shaped and they aged about 15 years in no time at all. Yeah, really bizarre.
Might need to taper off.
I mean,
I'm listening to the anecdote. Laura, what's up?
Yes, Dr. Drew. I just wanted to ask you, what do you think, in your opinion, is the most important thing for universities right now to be doing for mental health of their student population, particularly in resident students?
Yeah, so I've done some analysis of college-based programs, and I'm stunned, I was stunned, at the lack of integration between the physicians at the college and the prescribing physicians back home. About 30% of college kids at higher institutions, at the fancy places, arrive on medication. And the physicians at the student health services just rubber stamp the medicines. They should be calling the psychiatrist, making sure there'd been a psychiatric diagnosis, mapping out a plan with the prescribing physician on what they're going to do going forward. Then some schools, there's a complete divide between psychological services and psychiatric services, which is also insane. They need to be integrated. So really, I would say the most important thing, most college campuses have very good services for their kids, but the integration on the mental health side is off. And this is another big problem. And Kay, I'm going to let you go off on this a little bit. We'll see how you feel about it. There's such an endorsement of binge alcohol substance use disorder on college campuses that literally I had a doctor say to me, yeah, a kid came in last night, stopped breathing, his blood alcohol was 0.45. Yeah, we resuscitated him, sent him out. And I go, did you
what the fuck?
And I said, did you get a psychiatric consult after that? And he turned white. He was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, they don't even contemplate. These are life-threatening episodes with alcohol, and they just endorse it as normative. That's deeply concerning. So that also needs to be addressed.
Well, this is something that, like, I think Brits get out of their system really, really young. Like, I was drinking lager shandies, and I think it's, like, legal to drink a lager shandy when you're about 13 in the UK.
You're right. However, I'm going to push back and tell you that in European countries that allow early alcohol consumption, they have the highest incidence of alcoholism.
And we don't also have, like, and it's funny that you should say that.
But you may not have the binge use disorder we have, but you have alcoholism full on.
Oh, God, no. But it's normalized within our society, right?
It is.
Like,
yes, it is. They don't even call it alcoholism.
No, it's just Friday night.
Well, it's just that's John that drinks a lot. That's just John the drunk guy.
I mean, but that's everyone. Like, that's the crazy thing in, like, coming from the UK and our kind of drinking culture out there. It's so much cheaper than out here. Like, I can get a shot for 50 pence, which is about, like, 75 cents or probably about 50 cents.
No, it's very much endorsed, very much. And the gene runs deep in Scottish, Irish, Welsh.
Oh, God. I mean, we're terrible for it. But
Patrick, explain to us what you want in terms of our due diligence and follow-through. I don't know what you're talking about there. Maybe we missed you somewhere upstream.
Yeah.
Coronavirus party.
Shelley Sprague was on there.
Oh, Shelley's in here?
Yeah, and she said she said the same thing I said about Adderall right at the same time.
Which was?
Oh, I would love that drug. And she goes, oh my God, no way, Susan. I said, well, call. She goes, okay.
Oh, she called.
That might be her.
I
have her phone number. No, that's not new.
Are you sure?
She'll call. She said you would.
I think this is Shelley.
No.
I know it's Shelley. I recognize her number. Hi, Shelley.
Hi.
How are you?
I have ADHD so bad I couldn't remember the number from, like, the actual.
It's
just the little bubble that you gave me to call her. Like, that's how long it takes me without Adderall.
I see. If you weren't taking your if you had been taking your Adderall, you would have called sooner. I get it.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
I would have called sooner. I would have been on top of it. I would have been able to get
Wait, turn off.
Wait, Shelly, hold on. Shelly, something's going weird with your phone.
You have a speakerphone on?
No, I don't. I'm
Okay.
not on speaker.
Okay, stop yelling.
I just have Sprint.
Go a little slower because it distorts.
Sprint.
It distorts after a couple of words.
I'll turn.
All right.
So,
Okay, that's funny though.
yes, it is Shelly from Celebrity Rehab. It is Shelly Sprague. And Shelly, want to talk about your work right now?
Hi. Is my phone okay though?
It
Is
sounds-
it
Yeah, you're
annoying?
better, you're
I hate
better.
being annoying.
When you speak slowly, it's great.
You're yelling.
Okay, I'll try to speak. I won't
She's
yell,
so
and I will speak slowly. Hey guys, how are you? I miss you. I adore you.
I know.
My work is crazy, but you know, I'm making a difference one patient at a time. And you know, I'm just up against the weed thing and the Adderall thing and the prescription medications. And you know, I had a guy come in today and tell me that he has difficulties with anxiety, and he needs to take Klonopin.
Yeah,
And that's what he needs, and he's going to have a stroke if he doesn't take it.
Okay.
So these are the stories I'm listening to, in real time. I sent him to the emergency room because he said he thinks he's going to have a stroke. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to get you right over to Cedars if that's what's going to happen, because I'm not a medical facility.
Crazy.
So how are you guys?
We're good. We're talking a little bit about, the homeless thing has us worked up. And
we miss you, though.
We miss you and love to get your thoughts. I'm hearing it's going to fentanyl meth on the street almost universally.
Really? Fentanyl?
Yeah.
Oh, universally.
Yeah.
And also, I just had a person overdose and die from smoking cannabis laced with fentanyl, carfentanyl, and overdose and died.
Did he know he was getting?
So
did he know he was getting carfentanyl? Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Can you guys tell me?
It was a complete accident.
So you know how like methamphetamine and other amphetamines like directly have and correct me if I'm wrong, they have a direct impact on the amygdala. Does fentanyl have the same?
No, fentanyl. The stimulants cause a release of noradrenergic cells. So the parts of the brain that are associated with reward and with activity and with getting high are just pouring out. They actually damage the cells. They're pouring out so much neurochemical. Opioids go through the endorphin system.
And fentanyl being an opioid.
Is an opioid,
okay.
Yeah. So it's the feel-good system, but it's also the part that says you can't live without this.
That's cool. I didn't know the difference.
Right.
Not that it's cool, but it's cool that I now understand.
It's so weird. But the combo of a stimulant, an amphetamine stimulant, and
it's creating a whole other problem.
Yeah, I don't know how we address it without some sort of Damocles, because they're so paranoid, they're so agitated, they don't want to stop because of the opioids. What's bringing people in? Of course. What's bringing them in?
Homelessness, and inability to regulate, getting arrested, your consequences when you're so heavily exposed on the streets, and I'm basically trying to house people so that they're not homeless on the streets, and all they have to do is come to treatment and not use in between, and that's a tall order, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get more people into 30-day, 60-day, 90-day programs, because having these guys in and out of IOPs and outpatients just isn't working. They're too sick.
Yeah. Are they failing? I'm imagining replacement therapies, harm avoidance are being pushed. Are they failing that too?
Some of them are doing okay if they're over 25 years old, but between 18 and 25, I've had very little luck with MAT, psychodynamic therapy, and outpatient.
By the way, where the fentanyl is coming from, and it's laced in everything now, it's not only is it inadvertently in everything, people are actually seeking it now as their drug of choice also. But
I know it is their drug of choice. They don't even want to settle for heroin.
Yeah,
right.
where I live in Santa Monica,
they only want fentanyl now.
Every 4 blocks along Wilshire, or every 2 blocks as you get past, I think, 15th Street, or like close to there, or wherever 15th would be, is a guy who sells just fentanyl.
Yeah.
And it's every 2 blocks towards the beach. And from where I live, and this is Santa Monica in California.
Yeah. And
yeah, I mean, I don't mean to be an alarmist, but I really
they
think
just
it's
need a place
genocide.
to live.
I mean, like, it's just crazy to me that, like, 3 years ago, fentanyl was a thing that if you were really unlucky, that's what was laced within your, typically heroin, and you would OD from it. And the fact that people are now actively seeking it out, and there are people selling only that.
Right. And Shelley, I've got a story for you, and Kay, you're going to love this.
Oh, God.
So in addition to Prop 47, Prop 57, AB 109, and all the things that made drug utilization essentially legal in the state, we passed another law that made it illegal to prosecute 12 and under. So we're not allowed to prosecute 12 and under in the state of California, no matter the crime.
Yes.
Oh, God.
So that's how they're running it.
I just put that together.
Correct. So the cartels have an army they've gotten into the gaming community in San Diego of children, the cartels, and they are running fentanyl across the border. 8 to 12-year-olds are running it.
Yes.
They've arrested 100 of them, and were unable to do anything because they're under 12,
because
and they were sent back out to do it again. So 8 to 12-year-olds are running
it's genocide. I mean, the cartels are like they're over here, and they're massacring our youth, and we have to do something. I applied to go to the task force for Governor Newsom. And I'm hoping that they let me on that task force for mental health and homelessness. I applied and I wrote out some stuff, and I'm hoping that they'll let me come on. The first meeting is March 4th.
They named it this morning, and I'm sorry to say you're not on it.
I feel physically fucking sick of that.
Yeah, but you could go there and talk to them. I wish you would, right? Because
I'm gonna go on the call. I'm gonna call and get on the agenda.
Good, because they don't want to hear it.
So that I can talk to them. I know they don't want to hear it. I can't believe they didn't put me on, Drew.
I mean,
I saw one physician on the mental health committee.
If I'm perfect for anything, I'm perfect for that.
I mean,
ridiculous.
Oh my God! When she yells, it just starts squeaking.
It's just absolutely.
Oh my God, I love it when you're upset, Shelley. I've never heard you do that. Ever.
What? Scream?
She's always so calm on the show.
Oh no.
Oh, you got to come back.
Oh, I know. I'm not calm. I'm not calm about this.
It's time to come
I'm
back.
losing it.
Yeah, Shelley, and I can imagine you are. I know how we've struggled. We've spent so many years working with this population, and I feel we just got to feel the same. I mean, I know we feel the same thing, and I wake up every day.
We feel the same.
Yeah. Every day. Thank God you didn't get this illness now. Think about it. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know. Forget about it. No, forget it.
If you had been sick
I would not have survived.
Right. If she had been sick with this illness
I
now,
wouldn't have survived.
she would not survive. If Bob Forrest had this illness now, he would not have survived. That's what we're doing with people.
This is a whole nother level. This is a whole nother level of genocide, cartels. I don't know why we are not. I don't know why this isn't the headlines every single day. I don't know.
I can tell you.
All they talk about is housing.
Because all they do is talk about is housing.
Yeah,
and the other thing that happens a lot, particularly here in California, and I've had it happen. Like, I've been blacklisted from every major news kind of like broadsheet outlet in the greater Los Angeles area because like I think I was one of the first people to call this a genocide publicly.
Yes.
And I was one of the first people to call out people like Garcetti, Bonin, what have you. I mean, like, I've never been a huge fan of Bonin anyway because he's such a fucking hypocrite. But being one of these people to stand up and say, no, fuck you. What you're doing is perpetuating this issue. Me and my colleagues have been blacklisted. So that's why the people who want to write about it aren't being allowed to. The other side of it, and I get this from so many people that I work with, people, and I don't know, maybe it's just me being like an immigrant, so I can kind of just be like, fuck you, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. But the number of people who are too scared to stand up and say, we've got the highest rates of not just women, but young men and women being trafficked for sexual purposes in Los Angeles as a result of the homeless crisis. We've got exactly what you just described to me.
Essentially, all the women on the street are trafficked. All of them.
It's horrific. And the reason that people are too scared to talk about this, like I've been dealing with the cartel and different organized crime syndicates in Los Angeles since I first moved out here. And I think the show that I did with you, right, there was a story about a homeless person that had been absolutely, like their body had just been ripped to shreds.
Right. Oh, by a wild animal.
You thought it was by a wild animal. Yeah. I heard it was by MS-13.
It could have been either.
Yeah. And so we're being told.
By what? What's that?
Yeah,
like, MS-13 are a Salvadoran gang. And so what the
making
fucked up
making a point? Is it?
Yeah, they're known to do that. But my point was, what I was saying was somebody was ripped to shred living up in the canyon here. Could have been one of the wild animals, one of the mountain lions. So somebody's lying loaded in the bushes. Right. Mountain lion comes and eats them. That's what's going on in California.
Yeah. Like, welcome to the Wild
West.
Yeah, and that's in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
That's in Los Angeles, California, the second biggest city in America.
Yes.
The 9th worldwide economy. In the world, the 9th.
So weird.
And this is how we turn a blind eye and we marginalize people and we put them out as absolute not savable people, and we just put them right down, just put them on the streets, and they don't deserve anything. And it's not getting better. I really think that, I don't know who I was talking to, maybe it was you, Drew, but this is like a humanitarian crisis. Like, I'm devastated.
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm devastated by what I see.
And think about what could happen. You could build residential beds if you pushed aside the Environmental Protection Agency, CEQA, pushed aside Social Security, SSA, pushed aside Department of Health Services, and allowed, without all that terrible, ridiculous regulation, groups to go forward and just build these residential facilities. We could have 20,000 beds in a year easily. That's number one. Number two, pass SB 640. We could have gravely disabled. Can you imagine, Shelley, having gravely disabled again?
Oh, we have to finish. No, we have to fix that. Yep. This is my biggest problem. I don't have any place to put anybody.
And we need some locked beds, which Orange County's building them, LA County's building them. We're getting some locked beds. We're building some psychiatric beds out in Palm.
But what's the criteria? What's the criteria? Are they going to have to be like completely homicidal with a knife?
And persistently so. If you say, "Oh, I was just kidding," goodbye, you're gone. And so
then you're good. Yeah, you're gone.
You're good to go.
Like, this is insanity. I feel like I live in the Twilight Zone.
It's like, that's welcome bizarre. To California. I'm working on a piece at the moment that is kind of a follow-up to the one that I wrote before Christmas, which is like, why the fuck would you want to come here on holiday? This is a living nightmare land.
I feel like we're being invaded by the White Walkers.
Yeah, Susan thinks it's
they're migrating west.
Winter is coming.
Yeah.
No, it's bizarre. I mean, it's scaring me at this point, and I'm not easily daunted.
Well,
but this is out of control.
Can you imagine, Shelley?
This is out of control.
Think of us 15 years ago working in all this, and if you told me this was going to happen, I would.
I could never have imagined.
Couldn't even imagine it. Yeah, couldn't even have imagined it.
Well, the other thing that's happening that isn't being talked about in the press, similarly to the cartel, is the number of men and women, well, obviously women, I should say, and men, who are being sexually assaulted and murdered by the homeless population. And again, this is not to polarize like taxpaying citizens and homeless people. It's the fact that the system that we live under here in California allows us to literally murder each other and ourselves whilst the people in charge make money from this
We have a stalker
crisis.
Who wants to kill Dr. Drew.
You have a stalker?
Guy.
Oh,
my God.
Yeah. I mean,
but he went to jail. But now, I mean, he's on the radar. But he exists, and there's a lot of violence. There's a ton of violence.
Yeah, it's scary.
I had a guy message me on Twitter saying that he was going to behead me, deport me, and send me home to mummy.
Make sure you keep copy of that, and you you need to call the police, Kay.
I
do every time, but in Santa Monica, just like when I was actually physically assaulted by a vagrant, I had two squad cars turn up. I mean, like, it sounds awful, but that was the third of 4 times that it had happened. I had 2 squad cars turned up. I got a ride home, and the guy said, yeah, call the station tomorrow. We'll give you some updates. And I called the station, and the woman was like, we don't have any record of anything that you went through.
Yeah, we don't know anything.
My knee-jerk reaction is to think, like, I've got a funny accent, so no one's going to talk to me. But actually, this is what all people... So, okay.
No, it's what everybody experiences.
And you have to go through this with a homeless person. As soon as the cops show up, say, I was terrified for my life and I want to press charges. I was scared that I was going to die. Otherwise, the person who did that to you is going to be back. Either they're never going to be found, or they will end up back on the streets within about 30 minutes.
Right. Then, so somebody asked about 5150s. There aren't any beds for the 5150s. There aren't any psychiatrists for the 5150s. And it's the criteria for the 5150 are ridiculous.
Bizarre.
Bizarre. You can't get anybody, no matter how somebody could be lying in the street with their limb rotting off, talking to Napoleon, and if they just go, no, I don't want any help, that's it.
This was something I was going to
ask you. Okay, bye. See you later.
Yeah,
they walk away. They walk away from it. I mean, I have active people who are actively psychotic, hearing things, seeing things. They're not even, they won't even let them be in treatment because that's a baseline.
Right.
This new term, baseline. Oh, that's their baseline. I'm like, their baseline is dangerous. What are you talking about? What are you,
Who says this baseline thing? Who says this?
The baseline, the insurance companies. The insurance companies are saying, well, they're at baseline, and they won't pay any more for treatment. I have so many people who are fluidly psychotic from methamphetamine that literally their new baseline is psychotic.
That is,
and this is what's roaming around everywhere. And now they're saying, well, they're not benefiting from treatment because they're at baseline. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Oh my
They've not just normalized. That's going to the next stop. Is that means the baseline is the morgue. That's what they're saying. Baseline morgue.
Yes,
yeah,
that's what they're saying.
The baseline is death.
Yes. And in the meantime, we're going to be roaming the streets, and we're going to menace, and we're going to scare people, and we're going to assault people, and we're going to maybe murder people or push them in front of vehicles, or we're going to stab them with something sharp,
or throw shit over their head in daylight. Did you hear about that woman who had diarrhea poured on her head in the middle of the day by a homeless man?
Oh yeah. Yes,
Lovely.
Yes. And, we know about the, fecal infatuations, and we know about the fluid psychosis with, angels and devils and these kinds of things. As a clinician, we know what to look for, but these people are out on the streets with no clinical support whatsoever.
Right. And by the way, and when
we have the money to do all these other things.
We have money.
They build high-rises all over Los Angeles.
We have money to take care of homeless. It's just sitting on the sideline now because you don't have the laws to bring them in, as you know. We can't use it.
Exactly. And you're right. We have to change the law. Mm-hmm. That's got to be first and foremost.
Because otherwise you're sending them to the morgue. They're going to the morgue. And that is murder. This is just active murder. And no other country on earth allows people with brain diseases to deteriorate on the street like this, to deteriorate anywhere.
On the sidewalk. I saw a woman that was easily in her late 70s on a bus bench homeless. I said, this is how we take care of elderly.
And by the way, what happens to elderly is they get small strokes in their thalamus, then they get psychotic, and then they aren't able to manage their daily affairs, and then they go on the streets. Somebody who gets psychotic later in life, it's usually neurological or even some other
What happened to my grandmother? She became psychotic, and we had to take care of her for 5 years. She had 7 years of dementia.
And we just we let them go.
She would have wandered off, but we took care of her the whole time. We had to stay with her every day, all day long.
Yeah.
She needed 24/7 care.
Yeah, that's the right thing to do.
Well, you could do that with dementia patients. You're not allowed to do that with anybody else. If your let's say your uncle got schizophrenia and he didn't want to be under your care, you couldn't do anything.
Forget it.
But with dementia, that we can do. So it's very weird. It's very weird.
Yeah, it's very strange. The whole thing is very odd.
All right, Shelley. Well, listen.
All right. So I love you guys. Be well. Thank you for everything that you do. I'm going to be back at it tomorrow. I'm sure you will.
Keep
I want to see you guys. God bless you.
We want to see you too. Keep doing the good work that you do and keep fighting the fight. I mean, at least you get a few of them. You get a few saves. Even though the country at large, the government at large, will not give you the resources you need to do the work.
We only need 80,000 more Shelleys to take care of the 80,000 more homeless people.
And there are very few people as talented as Shelley, and that's her telling you that she's overwhelmed and miserable and having trouble dealing with what's coming her way.
I mean, I feel like all of us are at this point, and like the more exhausted, certainly that I get by this issue, and this is what I do like full time, and you know, one of the things that you kind of do, I mean, I don't know what you do full time, but I assume I've done this sort of work.
I've done this stuff full time for years and years and years and years.
But like particularly with the homeless, and this is something that Carol and I have talked about a lot, is this kind of, and again goes back to normalization. Like it's normal now if you live in California to drive past one of these encampments and completely ignore it. And I don't know, in your opinion, do you see that being, or like perpetuating this issue even more long term to the point where this town is uninhabitable?
Until some horrible infectious disease breaks out. That's what I see heading our way, that they're going to wait.
And we scoop them all up off the street in bags.
Or what are they going to do when
all the trash.
What is it when the Olympics develop? You know, what are
oh
they
my
gonna,
God, the
what
trash
is
on the
plan?
streets is just ridiculous.
Yeah, they're going to do something for the Olympics. I hate to think what that's going to be.
Do you know, you are the second person to say that. Brad brought that up with me. I was over at the house the other day, and he was like, I don't know what we're going to do for the Olympics. And he had this look of horror on his face.
But I can't imagine they're going to do something productive or helpful for these people on the streets.
No, I think one day we're going to wake up and
make them sell T-shirts.
And it's now that all these people are going to be gone, and then suddenly the phone calls are going to start coming in. I had a loved one who was homeless on the streets in California, and they've disappeared. And then in about 25 years' time, we'll find out what they actually did.
Yeah.
We have to do something. We have to do something.
No,
someone is asking me, does Vivitrol really help for cravings with alcohol? For some people, it really does. Some people, it doesn't. Some people, it really, really does. Well, shall we?
You guys killed it.
Yeah, we're going to wrap this thing up. I'm going to sick Kay.
I couldn't say that on the last show.
I'm going to sick Kay on people that push back on Twitter. I expect to hear from Kay.
I've been working all day.
Because Kay likes using strong language.
Well, my biggest thing is, at this point, you are looking at this from a scientific perspective.
From a clinical standpoint.
I'm looking at it from a scientific perspective. If you're looking at this in any other way, I don't give a motherfuck about your opinion because it's fucking wrong and biased. And if your opinion contributes to these issues, you're just a cunt. And I don't want to have to fucking deal with you. And if I hear this shit on Twitter anymore, that's what you're going to be fucking called. Because that defines any other attitude other than policy change and just macro help. Because this isn't just an issue in California. These are people coming from all over the country to California to die on our streets. And I don't want to hear that like releasing people from prison for drugs is cool, because it's not when you don't have the stuff in place to support it.
Correct.
I don't want to hear about the fucking housing crisis because it doesn't fucking exist.
Right. We have a difficulty with low income housing. That's a separate phenomenon.
It's so separate.
And not only that, in this area, we absorbed 1.5 million undocumented workers in the last couple of years. They all found housing.
All of them.
1.5 million. None of them are on the streets. So it's not that bad.
I think one of the things that, again, this is what Carol at LA Vagrant says really, really, really well. The people who end up on the streets, the ones that we're talking about,
chronically homeless.
They aren't people who, I mean, like, Christ, if I didn't have a great network and family around me,
you'd be on the streets.
There would absolutely be months where I would
had
struggle.
you been on the street, though, you would have used the services that are available through the homeless organization.
And
you
I think that's
average
the biggest
duration,
misconception.
3 months on the streets for people that are transiently on the street. We are talking about the chronically homeless here.
Can I ask you, have any studies been done that define, so in, say, the cartels, there is an estimate when you become a kingpin, 16 months and then you're dead. What is this, like when you do meth, 2 years and then you're dead?
Yeah, they don't have that.
In California.
They don't have that data yet, but that'd be a great piece of data. What's your life expectancy on the street?
We should do that study.
Yeah, for chronic homelessness.
Yeah.
I'm imagining it can't be longer than 10 years.
Oh, right? I'd say it was a lot less than that. Because this was the other thing I was thinking. When these people go out and they get, like, Edmond Dantes posts pictures and videos of these people, these horrendous sores on themselves, how are they not dying way faster from things like sepsis and blood poisoning?
They do.
Really? Like
what's they're dying of?
So like
they're
when
dying
they
of
get
tuberculosis,
these
3 people a day.
infections, they're dying. Yeah. They're dying of encephalopathies. They're dying of drug overdoses. They're dying of vascular disease. They're getting older on the street now. Now they're starting to die of heart attacks and strokes too.
Oh, Christ.
So yeah. So it's and they're dying young.
Well, like this is what I expect Britain to turn into now that we voted in Brexit. So once we fix it here in California, we're gonna have to fuck off back there to deal with those twins.
Fair enough. Know how to do it. Kay, thank you as always.
Thank you so much for having
Twitter.
me.
What's the Twitter handle?
Just Kay Smythe, KaySmythe.
Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
we were gonna after that last diatribe, we will leave it at that, and we will see you next time.
Oh, that's my cue.
Yes. Happy, joy.
Wait.
Okay.
We have to have the music. We have extra. I think. I don't know. Let me see.
Come on now.
There
we go.
See, doesn't this make you want to smile?